Welcome to this explainer. We're going to dive straight into a psychological investigation into an unsettling truth. We'll uncover exactly why your talent might be fading into the background while others seem to effortlessly capture the spotlight.
Think about it. Have you ever watched someone receive all the credit, even though they definitely weren't the most talented person in the room? Or maybe you've wondered why certain people leave an impression that lasts for years, while others just disappear the moment they walk away. It's really easy to blame luck, but psychology suggests something far more unsettling. You see, human beings don't notice everything equally. We actually never have. In his famous book, The 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene called this Law 6. He wrote, "Court attention at all cost. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing." But why does attention matter so much to us in the first place? Why do our brains decide that some people deserve our focus while others are just relegated to the shadows? Part 1. The biology of noticing. To solve this mystery, we first have to understand why we instinctively lock our eyes onto certain individuals. The answer is a biological mechanism known as gaze cueing. As a species, we have this unconscious tendency to shift our visual attention in response to social cues. We are quite literally hijacked by markers of high social status. It's just an evolutionary shortcut to figure out who actually matters in the tribe. A 2012 study brilliantly illustrates just how deep this bias runs. Researchers had participants read fake resumes, assigning high or low social status to different faces. In a subsequent eye-tracking task, the results were completely undeniable. Even when the status was entirely fabricated and newly learned, the brain automatically directed the viewer's gaze toward the high-status faces. Our attention is quite literally a slave to perceived status. So simply standing out, what we call salience, hijacks our biology. But that brings up another question. If standing out is enough, why do some people become deeply influential while others simply become loud and annoying?
Part 2. Escaping human oblivion.
Why does the human mind remember certain people for decades while forgetting hundreds of others? Well, the answer lies in the von Restoff effect, which is our tendency to remember things that stand out. Biologically, this manifests as something called anomalous face overgeneralization. When someone presents distinct, anomalous, or highly unique features, our brain overgeneralizes those cues. It logs their appearance deep into our long-term memory, because it naturally assumes that uniqueness holds vital adaptive information for us. You see, fading into the bland and timid masses of oblivion is actually the default human state. To escape it, psychology dictates that you must become a conspicuous, distinct magnet of attention. You have to offer the brain a visual or behavioral anomaly to latch onto, because otherwise you will just be discarded by the mind's natural filtering system. But if our memory relies on these superficial shortcuts just to remember who people are, what other massive assumptions is the human brain making based purely on visibility? Part 3. The illusion of competence. This brings us to the unsettling reason why we just naturally assume highly visible people are more capable. It's driven by the halo effect. That's a cognitive bias where one prominent positive trait tricks your brain into assuming an overall superiority about a person. And when you combine that with authority bias and social proof, the effect is hugely magnified. If you are highly visible and present yourself with aesthetic appeal, the human brain really struggles to separate that single trait from your actual competence. We've actually known about this biological blind spot for over a century. Back in 1920, psychologist Edwin Thorndike asked commanding officers to rate their soldiers, first on physical characteristics and presence, then on intellect, leadership, and loyalty. He discovered unexpectedly strong correlations. The officers conflated a commanding physical presence with actual intellect. They basically assumed that the visible soldiers were the capable soldiers. Now, I want you to consider your own life. Think about your late nights, your quiet dedication, all your hard work. Could your invisible talent be losing out to someone else's carefully curated visibility before you even have a chance to compete? What if the biggest obstacle to your success isn't a lack of talent at all, but simply a lack of visibility? Part 4. The visibility twist. This realization changes everything. We really have to reframe this entire investigation. When Robert Greene wrote his Law of Power, he wasn't celebrating attention for its own sake. He wasn't telling you to go out and be a narcissist. No, he was exposing something deeply uncomfortable about human nature. Human beings simply cannot value what they never notice. Listen, visibility doesn't create talent. It never has. But without visibility, talent often remains completely, tragically invisible. Remaining unseen in a world that biologically relies on salience guarantees that your talent is totally useless to the broader world. Because the ultimate, quiet tragedy of the human condition is this: history is filled with brilliant people the world never noticed. So if you want to stop fading into the background and uncover more hidden truths about human psychology, make sure to subscribe and follow.